This recording is in response to a question I got in response to one of our newsletters that went out. So by the way, we have weekly newsletter if you didn't know, and oftentimes people respond with questions like this, and I do my best to get you the answers. So this one took me a minute to sit down and look at. I'll be honest, because this is a really intense data crunch advertising strategy analysis. So let's dig into it, because the funny thing is the final questions that were asked are not actually going to lead you to the correct answers. And while I could have gone in and asked and answered these specific questions in this, okay, here's my final questions, that actually is not going to bring this advertiser to the answers that they actually need and the actual fundamental, like, underlying problem. And so I'm really, really excited to get into this. Now we're going to be looking at a spreadsheet, we're going to be looking at projections, and we're going to be looking at data. So if that's not your thing, this one might bore you a little bit, but if you're interested, I could also probably give people this projection sheet. Leave a comment if that would be helpful for you guys. Basically, this is a brand that wants to increase sales and lower total A costs. Don't we all? Very common theme. But the path to increasing sales and lowering total A costs isn't always exactly the same. Fundamentally, advertising is really a matter of ad spend control, but sometimes you need to spend more even when the data is telling you to pull back. And there's some interesting things I'm going to pull out here. So I really do appreciate the context. I put these screenshots in here because I thought it might be helpful to sort of understand my follow-up questions. And then again, we're going to get into the data analysis. So there's a lot of good context here in terms of what the total sales are, what the ad sales were, which was really helpful. I asked some final follow-up questions on the cost per click, because cost per click, again, if it's ad spend control, cost per clicks are going to play into a lot of things. And then I forgot, I was like, oh wait, I also would like the conversion rate. So he was gracious enough to give me that. If it would have been thinking through, I would have also asked for orders and maybe or clicks, because I wanted to look at other data points, or I would have asked the price point, but I was able to calculate those given the numbers that I was given. So that worked out just fine. All right, so here's the data, here's the goals, and here's a forecast model. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down sort of the current numbers that he gave me, and the one number that made me go, oh, I don't think it's a brand awareness problem. I don't think it's a top of funnel problem. And then kind of going through again, like the underlying questions, why those might not have been the best final questions to ask, which is great that I got all the pre-context. And then going through, okay, so given what I'm seeing, what is the fundamental underlying problem here? And then what is a way that you can work within the ads to solve for that? Okay. So here's the current numbers, which again, this is just pulled from what he gave me. Cost per clicks of 207, conversion rate of 12.5. A cost is obviously very high at 119. And I'll get into a second as to, like, again, fundamental underlying reasons why that's in fact the case. And then the total A costs being 32.8, which is definitely something the brand wants to bring down, most likely for profitability measures. And then this was the number that made me go, I don't think this is a brand awareness problem. And in fact, when just looking at this number, it's actually quite healthy, which is why you want to always look at ACoS, total ACoS, and ad sale percentage in tandem. You don't want to only ever look at ad sale percentage and say, oh, this number is great, but this number tells a story. So what ad sale percentage is this is your ad sales divided by your total sales. It basically says what percentage of my total sales are made up from ads. And what I would say is that these days, closer to a 50% is normal. Now, if I was looking at healthy ACoS and total ACoS numbers, I would say that this number is very healthy as well. I would count this as a very healthy account. But seeing as the fact that we have a very low ad sale percentage and we have a high ACoS and total ACoS, which ACoS is going to tell me the profitability of my advertising and total ACoS is going to tell me the profitability of my account when it relates to my ad spend. So these ones are not healthy, and I would be much happier with an unhealthy ad sale percentage and a very healthy ACoS and total ACoS number, because that would actually mean the account is profitable overall, even if, say, ads are eating into the sales numbers. So I use ad sale, where you would want to use ad sale percentage as a barometer, but you don't want to blow up the account because you have a high ad sale percentage if everything else is good, I guess as you would say. Now, context on this brand, and this is going to be when I get into more of the strategy piece of it. So there are 24 products. That was one of my follow-up questions, is how many products are being advertised in this account. The context there is that if there is one singular product, then you only have one product that you can, really try and dial in the ads for. If you have a larger catalog, then you have more options in terms of levers to pull. Now there is one The Hero product representing 37% of total revenue. I'm going to pull out maybe some ideas for looking at the rest of the catalog in a second. And then this was branded only represents about 4% ad spend and 9% of ad sales. So there is branded and it is working. Again, if these are his initial thoughts, total sales goal is in conflict with the tacos goal, which I would agree with, right? You're looking to, if you're lowering total ACoS, you need to lower that ad spend. And it basically means I need you to lower ad spend and also make me more sales, which is a very difficult thing to do. He was saying he's already maximizing the bottom of the funnel activities through sponsored products. Looking at the ad sale percentage, I would actually argue there's probably untapped potential there. And I'm going to go into, again, I'm going to have to speak broader strategies. I don't actually have access to this account or the actual strategies or tactics being run in the account. So I'm going to have to speak in broad general terms, although we are going to get very nitty gritty with the data. And I also will share some context as to what I see often when auditing accounts that look similar to this one or in similar positions. So I can talk through that. He was saying no, brand building has led the brand to no longer compete in the competitive market. And this is the question that led to how do we do brand building activities? A couple things I will say here is that brand building activities, the top of funnel activities, while they will grow your brand long term, don't typically lead to the highest leverage actions for increases in sales. It's a long-term play. You're going broader. The ROI is a lot lower for those strategies. So it's not an immediate sales growth strategy. And it's a much, again, you're going to end up with much lower ROAS numbers, much higher ACoS numbers, which we're already struggling with that in this account. So that's the context I'm looking at this. And then when we're saying no, brand building has led to this brand to no longer compete in a competitive marketplace, I don't think it's a brand building problem. And the reason why I'm saying that is because they're doing $344,000 with only 27%, with an ad spend of 113. And that's, so basically what I'm reading in it is there's ways in which this ad spend there's a difficulty in translating this ad spend to good ad sales. And there's two reasons potentially for this. The way you can think about ACoS, and in some ways total ACoS as well, is it's a function of your cost per clicks, your conversion rates, and your price points. And what is actually happening here, and the fundamental problems that need to be solved, is this cost per click is too high for a product at this price point at this conversion rate. is the bottom line of it. And the reason why I'm saying that is so you can actually calculate, and I don't know if I have my calculations here, but if I took my cost per click of 207, and I'm going to multiply that times how many clicks on average that takes me to generate an order, which is 1 divided by my conversion rate. And that means for every single ad order, I have to spend $16.53, which, if you can notice, that my product price point is $14. So there's more than one way to fix this. And then again, I'm going to get into goals, projections, kind of like numbers to shoot for. Because what I find is that when you're faced with situations like this, you're like, okay, great, I need to lower the cost per click. Lower it to what? What metrics am I shooting for? What do I need to push for? And so I'm gonna go through sort of those projections and why, if nothing changes in the cost per click, nothing changes in the conversion rate, nothing changes in the price point, you're going to end up with numbers that are even more unrealistic. But there are ways you can correct for that. And I'm going to speak mainly about correcting for that in terms of cost per click, because as an advertiser, that is the one thing that you have the most control over. Although I will say a much better lever, or you want to pull these in tandem, is going to be an increase in the conversion rate and a lowering in the cost per click. That will give you an disproportionate correction for what you have. But so what I would say right here, like, say if instead of a 12.52% conversion rate, we had a 13% conversion rate. And what I'm going to do is I'm also going to calculate this in terms of what the ACoS is. So we've taken this. So at these numbers, we're looking at an ACoS of like 119%. We increased it 5 points, and then we got to an 86% conversion rate. Say we did a 13.5 conversion rate, you're going to see an even bigger lowering of the ACoS metrics. And so when you have a conversion rate that, again, just necessitates you getting more clicks to generate an order, and you're paying a really high dollar value in terms of cost per click on every single one of those clicks, that's where you end up with mathematics in terms of ACoS that just don't work. And that's also why sometimes why higher or why lower price point products are always going to be more difficult to advertise, because again, what you're paying in terms of what kind of ad spend you need to generate an order just can't be offset enough by the price generated. And then oftentimes what you'll end up with is, again, just high. If the cost per clicks are high, then you end up with, like, again, it's just the mathematics of it. And unfortunately, those products where you can't seem to ever bring the ACoS down, and like no matter what you try, it just doesn't seem to work. That's a function of, if you lower your bids too low, which we need to lower bids to bring down average cost per clicks, well, then you stop getting impressions because the market is just too competitive and your competitors are willing to pay those high cost per clicks. So you end up with no impressions on the product. And the minute you lower your bids too low, you end up in a nosedive because you are no longer getting any impressions on the platform. And so those are those dynamics that are at work. Okay. So what do we do about it? What is our game plan? How can we do this? Okay. So what I did is I took the goals. We have a total sales goal of 500K, and then we have a total ACoS of 20%. So these are the goals. We want to hit 500K with 20%. And then so I also calculated out the orders needed given this particular price point. If there's a way to increase the price, now the problem is sometimes you increase the price and then the conversion rate goes down, and that creates a problem, and you don't actually, you're still paying like more clicks to get the sale. And so the mathematics again don't work out. So these things definitely work in tandem with each other. I also calculated use the tacos between 20 and 23%. So just to see what that looked like. So then what I did is I said, okay, if we're looking at a 500K in total sales and we need a tacos of 20%. What does that look like in terms of ad spend? So you can see here, basically all you have to do for that, if a client ever says, I want to hit this sales goal at this metric, all you have to do is say, okay, I'm going to take my 500K, I'm going to multiply it by 20%, and then that is going to give me 100K, which means if I want to make those numbers work, I have to spend 100K and the account has to be at 500K. It gives you a better way to know where your benchmarks are. And then off of that, I got projected ad sales, which is a little bit more complicated of a formula, but I'm basically saying, if this cost per click is correct, if this mathematics are correct, what am I going to be spending? And then I'm looking at the calculated product price and I'm saying like, okay, this is what I'm assuming is going to be projected off of ad sales. Again, given that all things remain equal at these numbers. And then so what I can do off of those mathematics is I can say, okay, if I am making, again, providing this is the conversion rate, this is the cost per click, this is the product price, I'm going to be projecting like an 83 if I want to make these numbers work. If I want to make these number works at this ad spend, at those conversion rate metrics, I'm going to end up with an ad sale percentage of 16.7%. Meaning, given the current metrics and how the account is currently working, I would have to get down to a 16.7% ad sale percentage and be able to grow sales at the same time. Those mathematics, I will tell you right now, are not going to work. Something needs to change. So basically, with the current trajectory of the account, with the current conversion rates, with the current price point, with the current cost per clicks, this goals are impossible. The thing is, there are actions we can take to change things, ideally, in a perfect world. And so I came up with this cost per click forecast, which means you're going to have to do a lot of work in terms of lowering cost per clicks, which may or may not be possible. Again, the other thing, lever, I would push to pull in tandem with it. Now, we as an ad agency, we don't touch creatives, but if a client has aggressive goals like this, I would highly advise adjusting the creatives, doing anything and everything in your power to be able to increase this conversion rate for sure. So I'm projecting an increase in the ad sale percentage. If I'm looking at this right now, I'm saying, you know what? Having to lower the ad sale percentage, having to pull back on the ads entirely, having to continuously lower ads and then increase the top line, something's got to give. We got to figure this out. Now, we're still working with a 10%, we're still working with 100K in the ad spend because that's what these numbers work out to. So those numbers are still the same. This is what it would look like if we're doing a 23%, by the way, as well. So that's what these numbers would look like. So if we're able to bump it up to say a 35% ad sale percentage, which I would still consider pretty low in today's market, if we're being honest, we would be looking at an ad sale projection of this. So this is very simply like 35% off of this total sales. That means if we're doing this projected ad sales at this projected ad spend, we would be at a 57.14% ACoS number. Because if this ad sale percentage goes higher, the higher your ad sale percentage, the closer your ACoS and your total ACoS metrics are going to be to each other. So I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get through the projected cost per clicks and kind of give you the benchmark into what you would want to shoot for. Again, if you want to make these numbers work, and then off of that, we'll talk ad strategy and how you might think through that. But given this is what our ad sales are, given what our ad spend is, if we were going to project out what the average cost per click would need to be to achieve these numbers right here, again, providing we can grow total sales at this ad spend, you would want to be able to grow the account. Again, we're still forecasting that we're doing a heavier ad push, but if we can bring down the average cost per click to roughly about $1, which means you're going to have to lower it about $1, which is easier said than done, right? then you could make these mathematics work. Now, I would also recommend going through here and seeing, like, can you see what like a 400K would be? Maybe that's a little bit more acceptable in terms of ad spend. I think you still, on the average, you're going to end up with the same cost per click. Okay. So, what is your goal as an advertiser? Your goal as an advertiser is going to be, so you said you already maximized the bottom of the funnel activities through sponsored products. My question to you is, when you say maximize, are you talking specifically and only about rank building strategies? Or do you have a fully fleshed out ad funnel? Fully fleshed out meaning we're leveraging broad match, we're leveraging phrase match, we're leveraging auto campaigns, we're leveraging sponsored display ads. I mean, you mentioned just sponsored product ads, but you want to work on two things. One of them is going to be ranking the products on main search terms, or at least some of the higher volume terms. You want to make sure that you're doing that. And then the second thing you want to do is you want to look into lower bid strategies that will help you lower the average cost per click to 99 cents. I'm sort of guessing, again, this is just given the mathematics that I'm looking at right now, and given the just given the context I have when auditing accounts. Sometimes, or often, if the only strategy that is being run in the account is specifically exact match rank building strategies, oftentimes those brands can struggle with market share. And so you want to have this sort of two-pronged approach, this double-sided strategy, where you have specific rank building campaigns that you remain aggressive on, you pay the higher cost per clicks, you make sure that you have good search page market share. And then on top of that, you want to layer in broader targeting, autos, broad match, all of those. Now, if I was in the account, if I could see what was going on, if I could see the strategy, most likely I could pinpoint kind of where this is being missed out on. But that would be my recommendation. Your goal is to find out, where can I grow market share at lower cost per clicks? And oftentimes that's long tail, oftentimes that's broader targeting. Like I said, these brand awareness plays, given the fact that you're making this kind of total sales volume with that low ad sale, like there's something within this ad spend that isn't fully maximized and converting. And I think it's really a function of the high cost per clicks, the conversion rates, and this price. So your goal as an ad manager is to say, what targets do I have higher than average cost conversion rates? What targets do I have lower than average cost per clicks? And then that's going to correct this, because most likely what's happening, and this is really, really easy, and that's what makes these kind of situations so difficult, is you're probably looking at the A costs and you're probably looking at the total A costs, and you're saying these are far too high, and you would be correct. And so again, the lever to correct for these is to pull back on ad spend, lower bids, lower things, cut things, bring it out. And that would be correct, but that oftentimes can be detrimental to total sales. And so if you're running a really specific targeted strategy, oftentimes, and this conversion rate, I'm not 100% sure if this is the average for the whole account, meaning the unit session percentage, or if this is the ad conversion rate. But oftentimes, if you're being super targeted, your ad conversion rate should be higher than your unit session percentage. And if it's not, that means your targeting is maybe a little bit broad. So that's what I would look to do. The second thing that I would look at is, I know this hair product makes up about 37% of total revenue, which is pretty hefty, right? But you have a product of, you have 24 products within the catalog. So what I would recommend doing is saying, what are my next highest products? Meaning, the number 2 product, is it only making up 5% of the total sales volume, or is it making up 15% of the total sales volume? Like those two, those two impacts of those two products is going to be different. So look within the catalog, see, I know I have a hero product, but is there anything else that's running well? And then the other thing you want to do is calculate the ACoS, total ACoS, ad sale percentage, and then look at the conversion rates of those products next to the ad conversion rates of those, each of those 24 products. And then what you want to do is say, okay, here are my products that have the biggest impact. So definitely the 37% one, right? But how is that second product doing? How is that third product doing? What are they doing in contribution to the total sales? And also, what are they doing right now in contribution to total spend? And is my ACoS, total ACoS ad sale percentage high or low on these products? Sometimes what you will find is that after you calculate this out, you'll see, okay, so the hero product is like driving everything. That's while our ad spend is going. But like, wait, product number 2 is actually contributing about 15% of total sales. We're not spending that much on it. And oh, if we look at the total ACoS for this number 2 product, it's actually like really, really good. So therefore, that's a clue that there's something working within that product line. And then you can dig into that product line a little bit more. So I would also take these metrics. So these are, kind of like overall account averages, but you kind of want to benchmark these averages against every single one of the products, those 24 products in the account, and then identify if there are other products within the brand catalog that can be pushed more. As far as this brand awareness play, I wouldn't worry about it for now because it's not going to get you to the place where you want to go. If we're talking about increasing sales on Amazon, I know there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk right now about brand building and brand awareness and top of the funnel plays, which is not incorrect, but where your brand wants to go, how they want to get there super profitable in terms of ACoS, how the account needs some correction right now in terms of total ACoS, these brand awareness plays are not going to get you there. I wouldn't even worry about it. I would look within your ad set. I would see, where do I have high conversion rates? Where can I get lower cost per clicks? Where can I increase search page share? If you're not doing product page placements, do that. If you're not doing look back windows and brand sponsored display campaigns, do that. Again, you want to look at your goal, increase conversion rates, lower cost per clicks. That's what you need to focus on. And leverage those activities while making sure that you're not decreasing and you're in fact increasing your search page, as well as just your visibility on the platform. So visibility on the platform could be a ton of long tail keywords. That's a great way to lower cost per clicks. So you're just saying, how many eyeballs can I get at the lowest cost per click that convert to sales? As long as you can dial in on that, again, easier said than done. I'm talking in broad generalities here. But if you can focus in on that, those are the tactics that are going to get you to, ideally, if the product can support it, if the market can support it, the conversion rates will support it. Those are the activities that are going to get you to these goals that the brand's looking to hit. So hopefully that was helpful. If you liked what I had to say and you are interested in joining the newsletter, getting on that list, getting those tips and tactics, make sure you check out the link in the description, and you can go sign up there.